Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're Allah's chosen one, the chosen one to spread the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The chosen one, though the road is long, just know Allah won't let you lose your way. You are the mercy for mankind. You are the teacher for this life. Allah has blessed you with the Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, our dear audience, to our program, Muhammad the Messenger, alayhi salatu wassalam. We're talking today about controlling anger, something that has become almost perceived and seen and expected in everyday's stressful life. I'm still joined by Dr. Mamdouh Nuruddin Muhammad, a former professor in Johns Hopkins University in the US. Dr. Mamdouh, welcome.
Ahlan wa sahlan, welcome.
Today we're talking about controlling anger, which is, I'd say it's one of the most challenging things that you could ever control.
Yeah.
So, since we are speaking in the context of the book that you are the author of, we can see through the previous episodes that we recorded together regarding the communication, regarding the way of dealing with people around me in the community. We can see that although we're speaking about communication, but patience was there all the time.
Yes, you're right. This topic in particular of controlling anger is not just important for leaders, but it is important for any human being. Yes, it's more important for leaders because their behavior impacts directly the behavior of the community or the society that he or she lives in. Therefore, it is very important, and I would love here to say a technique about a strategy of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you can copy this strategy. Anybody can copy, because we want people, we want leaders to learn from. The strategy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this strategy, particular strategy, is that he's not using his own techniques and strategies only, but he's using his strategy is to use the words of Allah. Because it has great impact on people. So therefore he used his own qualities, the Prophet ﷺ, and he used the qualities, the embedded qualities in the Quran. So he would use the Holy Quran. And this is something very important. If all humans, and it's an open suggestion for all audience, learn as the Prophet ﷺ learned from the strategy of the Quran. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised in the Holy Quran, and I want everybody to have this in mind, praised everyone who controls, not only controls his anger, but even much better than this, he would forgive people for what they have done. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ, those who suppress their anger, suppressing the anger, which tells us, first thing is that anger is suppressible. Anger is something that we can deal with. It's not something that had been created with us. We cannot get rid of it. No. It's something that we can suppress. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly in the Quran said this, and in many other verses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about how we can suppress. We have to suppress ourselves. We have to suppress anger from having this negative impact on us.
Right. So, Dr. Mamdouh, if I come to the point of age, when I'm young, do I control my angerness differently rather than when I'm in the youth stage, rather than when I'm very old? Does it make any difference? Like, am I able to control my anger in all stages of my life?
It's quite obvious that we can do that. But learning is the key word. We have to learn things, and therefore we have to have good, well-trained teachers and coaches. If the teachers are well-trained, and before the teachers, the parents, I would suggest to any family that the parents would read a few books about some ways, about some strategies, some styles of dealing with anger of the children, even before they get babies. Because it should be part of them before they start dealing with this. So they should get the knowledge ready before they start practicing the knowledge with their children. So learning something about ways of how to control the anger of the children, like the issue of time out. The time out is a strategy, is a technique that helps us control the behavior of the students instead of anger, or the child instead of anger. We do that.
It is some sort of giving them time to rethink what they did.
Absolutely.
To rethink and have more thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there are many ways, and I think in the world today we have a lot of resources and sources about these issues, so we can use them and abuse them. We need everybody to be knowledgeable about that. And I think a house that doesn't have any book of this kind is lacking a lot of mercy, because this is how we learn techniques. There are many individual techniques. There are some techniques that the Prophet ﷺ have done, and we are going to talk about them. But there are many other things, and techniques don't belong to anybody. We can learn from them, and we can apply them. The most important thing is to have the knowledge that will help us control the behavior of our children and help them to control their anger. There are many strategies, and it's learnable, and I encourage everybody to learn about this issue.
Right. So the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, Muhammad, he asked people to be patient, respectful, even in the climax of war.
Absolutely, even the war, which is the environment that pushes everybody to retaliate and to avenge and to do all these things, which is something very negative, because it's an embodiment of anger. The Prophet ﷺ, his teachings about this is that to prevent the Muslims, to teach the Muslim, he told the Muslim not to hit the elderly, and not to hit even or to burn trees, even trees. As we said, the Prophet ﷺ is rahmatan lil alameen.
Right.
Is a mercy for all the creatures, and this is part of it. Even you're not allowed to cut or to burn any of the trees. Avoid hitting the children. Avoid hitting the face, even if you are angry and you have to hit and you do the hitting. Avoid hitting the face. It's so merciful. And these are some of the things that we all the time think, if I do this, I will stop doing this and this and this.
So and one of, Dr. Mamdouh, one of the key points that was mentioned in this chapter is the answer of the question, how can a person work on controlling his anger? I know that you've said, I need to become more aware of my behavior, my actions, and maybe look at others and see what I do and how do I impact them. Am I impacting them in a good way or a bad way?
Yeah.
What are some strategies that are really practical for me to do that?
Good. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, amazingly, he himself developed some tactics and strategies. He taught us that if you are angry and you are standing, sit down. Now, the physical impact of you, when you are standing, you are close to do some aggression against people, but when you sit down, the chance is less, let's say 80%. And he said that if you are still angry, lie down. So standing, sitting, and lying down And if you are lying down and you're still angry, you could not control yourself, go and wash your face or even make wudu if you are a Muslim. So these strategies shows that the position of the person helps him positively or negatively to be aggressive. If you are standing, you are more liable to be aggressive than sitting. And if you are sitting and you're still angry, you are more liable to be more aggressive than if you lie down on a couch or on a bed or anything. And even if still with you the state of anger, you can control it by going and washing your hand. Because the cold water has impact on you, particularly on the face, particularly on the area where you have a lot of sweat as a result of being angry. This is some of the strategies that he himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, developed. Remember that what he comes with is revelation from Almighty Allah. It's not his own pure thinking as a human, rather it is a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly. So should leaders control their actions or their reactions?
Both of them. It's a very good question. If the action itself entitles and involves aggression, they should stop it from the very beginning. And everything stems from here. And therefore, that we need to change the mindset of human beings in order to be good leaders. Yet still, of course, sometimes because unexpected action from somebody may cause you to react un-Islamically, and this is another thing that we need to control. So you control both the actions and the reactions.
Sure. All right, Dr. Mamdouh, we're going to be discussing the relation between anger and frustration. We need to know if there is a relation or not right after the break. Our audience, stay with us after the break to talk and learn more about anger, controlling your angerness. Stay with us after the short break.
Oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Welcome back, our dear audience. After the break, we're still talking about controlling anger with Dr. Mamdouh. So, Dr. Mamdouh, we had a quick point before the break where we talked about the relation between angerness and frustration. Is there a relation between them?
Yes, there is. And the research says that there's positive relation. That means the more frustrated, the more angry you become. And therefore, to help conquer the anger that you have to do the cause and not the effect. This is the effect. Here the cause is frustration. That's why the more techniques you use to eliminate frustration and frustrating situations, the better. That's why this tells us the importance of we have to change our behavior, changing the behavior. And if you see that, as Aisha radiallahu anha described the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying that kana khuluquhu al-Quran, kana khuluquhu al-Quran, his manners were embodiment of the Quran. The Quran who taught us how to control anger. The Quran who taught us how to forgive people even who made some aggression against you.
Right.
So here, the more, one of the tactics is the more people know about the Quran. And the more people, they learn the knowledge about the Quran and they apply. Because as we said, there is the wisdom here is, as the companions used to say, that we used to learn only 5 ayat. 5 texts from the Holy Quran, very short ones. We learn them and we apply them.
Okay.
It's not how much you read, it's how much you benefit from what you read by implementing it. It's not the knowledge, the amount of knowledge, rather it is the amount of exercising and practicing this knowledge that you got, because this is the thing that will change you. The change does not happen just by mere reading. It happens by practicing the thing.
Right.
You'll find a lot of people, for example, nowadays Muslims, they're perfect or close to perfect their prayers because they do it 5 times a day. It's very repetitive, the same thing with anything. And remember that at a certain time, they were not practicing it at all. They just read about it, right, and knew about it as children. But because the beginning of the consistent daily practice of the prayer, they, alhamdulillah, their performance is becoming much better. So by eliminating these sources of frustration, and there are a lot of them. They are in the family, they are at homes, they are everywhere in the world, they are at school, at workplace. We have to eliminate and to make it a safe and kind and sound society so that we eliminate all sources of disruption and anger and frustration, that all of them end up with anger.
True. Okay, so Dr. Mamdouh, at this point I'd like to ask you a question. Now, I'm aware, for example, of some behaviors that I may find happening with other people. Like if they do some actions, I might get angry. I'm aware of some topics that if we go talk about, it might make me angry. What is your advice in this case? Like, what should I do to control my anger in this case? Especially, I'm aware of this, which is, I think, 50% of the solution, that you know what causes you to be angry.
Okay, causes you as an individual.
Yes.
Yeah. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid. The issue is avoiding these situations.
Would this take us back to communication? Because I need to communicate this to the person in front of me, or the
want to lead, yeah, please, you can say that. Please, this issue is very sensitive for me, and I would prefer that you talk about a different topic. I'd be thankful if you do that, because this helps me as an individual. So be transparent and share what you have with others, and they will learn if they know that. And remind them, remember that. For example, I am putting this bandage here to remind myself, which I don't have a wound, to remind myself that I don't want to talk about this issue, because I notice that it raises the level of frustration and anger, and it causes my temper to be hot-tempered. So when we are frank and when we sit with people who are sincere with us, and that's why sincerity is a very important issue. When the Prophet Muhammad taught us how to mirror our brothers. Be a mirror for your brother. Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhi. Believer is a mirror for his brother. So he would tell him about, I noticed that you get angry, and that's why I'm avoiding this. So this is kind of very sincere advice. All of us are in need of that.
Right, it needs to be genuine.
Yes. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us, al-nasiha, ad-din al-nasiha. Nasiha is for everybody, every individual and every person, every community. They need to be advised. This is an area, a good very area, that would help us improve ourselves.
Right. All right. So, Dr. Mamdouh, I think we reached the point here where we maybe need to list or sum up some of the strategies that can help us. I know that we've gone through some of them, but I'm sure, as I read in the book you are the author of, you finished the chapter in a really nice way. You said there are some strategies where we can go ahead and start working on them to really control our anger.
Yes, as I mentioned, the strategy of the Prophet ﷺ, when he said that if you are angry while you are standing, you have to sit down.
So that's number one. So you have to change your physical
thing. State. The second one is you have to know yourself very well. You have to, as I said, that you have to study which situations would cause you to be more angry than the others, and try to avoid them. And try to be sincere with your brothers and the people who are around you. Tell them, when I do this, and I used to advise a friend of mine by, again, I said that every time you look at me, he was giving a lecture and he was frowning at people. And I told him, let's develop a technique. And this is my own idea about when I do it with you, you remember that you are frowning. And we need to see a very plain and simple and smiley face.
it.
Yeah, so
So this
every
is a
time
really
you
good
look at
point.
me and you see me looking at the watch, you know that you are doing this. and really,
But this is a really good one, because here you're trying to help the other person,
yes,
like indicating, I wouldn't say indicating, like monitoring their behavior at a point
Yes.
that they might not know that they are.
he is a
doing
leader,
this.
and
Yes.
he's a very good leader, knowledgeable person,
Mhm.
yet he had this weakness, and all of us have these
Weaknesses,
weaknesses.
yes.
So we need the support and the help of others.
Mhm.
And that's why we read books, we consult with people, we consult with the Islamic scholars, and in this way we get the advice until we overcome
I see.
the state of anger.
So the first thing, you may change the physical state, and the second thing, you learn more and become aware of your hot topics or the behaviors that causes you to become angry. And the third thing, and that is
Exchanging
really
advice
exactly,
with people.
and asking for help.
Asking
not-
for
not to
help.
fear to ask
Asking
people for help.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get help and advice from a parent or a teacher or even a doctor, right? Because
Mhm.
some of us would
Right.
think that these things does not or do not require
Mhm.
the help of a
Mhm.
doctor. No, they are mistaken. They need help because they have done a lot of research. So they know about these specific areas much more than we know.
Mhm. Mhm.
One of the greatest moments of, and in fact, this was not among the goals of the book, is to list the number of strategies. So at the end, we learn one thing at a time. Yeah, but one of the most important things that should be mentioned for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
it's how he controlled.
Mhm.
That's why you can say that he's the master of human being.
Mhm.
How he controlled himself and his anger when he opened Mecca,
Mhm.
the land or the country or the area that fought with him and kicked him out of the country and let him suffer all the suffering that he and the companions have gone through because of that. And they prevented him from coming back to his land, to his home, to restore him. They did a lot of things that would really stir anger, would cause a war to happen. But the Prophet ﷺ
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
showed the whole world that he is really the best leader in the world.
Mhm.
He forgave all of them. And we have never seen a similar example in history. When you explore history and when you read history, the history of the leaders of the world, in fact, in all similar situations, you can find all the leaders were reacting aggressively against the people who used to fight them. This was not the case of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
Alayhi
wasallam.
salatu wassalam.
And this
Right.
is an example of وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. He said that you are set free. You are free. Do whatever you want. It's your country. You live with us. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to fight with you. And he had the power.
He had the power, and he
This-
had the army,
absolutely,
and he had the
that's what the Quran
resources.
said. That.
Mhm.
When وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, when you have the power. So he had the power to punish them, to fight them, to kill them. But on the contrary, unexpectedly from all the people there of Mecca, they saw the Prophet ﷺ forgiving all of them. As unique event that happened in the history of the world. And I think I would give advice to the people who deal about education in every country. These examples should be taught to all the people in the world. It should be taught to the children.
They need to know these
should-
examples.
Because this would help us remove the current example of revenging and avenging and fighting back and doing all
That's
these
what I
things.
had on my mind when
Yes.
you were saying, because nowadays we're having some wars where people are actually making a point of how strong we are. And you don't know what we can do to you, like as tribes or countries to each other. And they make use of this power to tell the others that we are stronger rather than we
Yes.
are strong to forgive. We are strong to stay in peace.
And this does not solve the problem at all. In fact, as we see nowadays, when they're talking about terrorism and all these things. All the steps that the whole world have done until now does not decrease the level of the aggressions or terrorism that happens in the world. And that's why they need to rethink and reconsider their situation and go back and learn from the history of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will find a lot of things that would help them. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Right, Dr. Mamdouh, we reached the end of the episode of Controlling Anger. Thank you so much for being with us.
Jazakallahu khairan. The same thing to you.
Thank you. Our dear audience, I hope inshallah by the end of this episode we all together reconsider angerness and look at it from a different perspective inshallah, and we become aware of our own weaknesses and we work on them really well so that we try to follow inshallah our role model Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. I'll see you next episode where we talk on a different topic, different chapter from the book authored by Dr. Mamdouh. See you very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.